Welcome to Rob Nagy's Rock and Roll Legacy. For more than 4 decades as a freelance music journalist, I had the honor and the privilege of interviewing countless music icons in rock and roll, jazz, R&B, and blues. It was a priceless journey that began in my late teens. I never imagined I would one day cross paths with many of my music heroes. For this week's episode, I selected a 2020 interview I conducted with Micky Dolenz, which I hope will be a memorable journey for you, the listener, while helping preserve his legacy for future generations. Widely recognized as the drummer-vocalist of the 1960s pop music sensation the Monkees, Dolenz, along with the rest of the group, rose to stardom through the hit television series The Monkees, releasing an impressive string of hit singles including I'm a Believer, I'm Not Your Stepping Stone, Daydream Believer, Last Train to Clarksville, and Pleasant Valley Sunday. The Monkees became one of the most popular and successful groups of the decade. Following his tenure with the Monkees, Dolenz enjoyed a successful career as a director, producer, voice actor, and musical theater performer in the U.S. and abroad. Prompted by a resurgence of popularity fueled by the reruns of the Monkees on MTV during the mid-1980s, various lineups of the Monkees reunited over the years, performing on concert stages throughout the United States and internationally. To this day, their classic songs remain fondly remembered by millions of nostalgic music fans worldwide. Following the passing of Davy Jones in 2012, Peter Tork in 2019, and Michael Nesmith in 2021, Dolenz remains the last surviving member of the Monkees. You are about to hear an unscripted, never-before-broadcast interview with pop music legend Micky Dolenz. I really appreciate your time, and it's an honor to talk to you. You just got done doing, not too long ago, the 50-year tour for the White Album with Todd Rundgren and Christopher Cross and Joey Molland. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
It was fantastic. It was so cool. I had a great time. Those are some really heavy hitters, and I think I held my own in the show. I would say it really not having to carry the whole show, because usually I do. And of course, singing those songs I grew up with those songs. I mean, the White Album to me was just such a milestone. And all of the Beatles, frankly, all of the Beatles songs I was a huge Beatles fan. And I just, to sing those songs, I sang a couple along the way, because I was at a few of the original sessions, like Sgt. Pepper. And so I sung a few, but the chance to do stuff like, Happiness is a Warm Gun and Rocky Raccoon, and I was in England meeting the Beatles for the first time, press-off kind of thing. And I was having dinner with Paul, and he just said, we're having on the recording the lawn, you want to come by? And I'm like, no shit.
Jeez.
And they happen to be doing the tracking for Good Morning, Good Morning. Now that they've done the White Album tour, I've decided to throw in some more, because now, I have a little bit of a story to go along with it. So I'll be doing, of course, all the Monkee hits. I always do. And start throwing in some Beatles, and the Monkees and the Beatles, you will not be disappointed.
No, that sounds great. Now, I was going to ask you if you were going to be doing any Beatles songs. I mean, can you tell me some of the titles that you're going to do, or do you want to keep it a secret?
Sure.
Okay.
I'm doing Good Morning, Good Morning. Mm-hmm. One of the sessions I was at.
Right.
I was also at Sgt. Pepper, that big session. The Rocky Raccoon from White Album, I'm So Tired, from White Album back in the USSR. You say it's birthday. Say it's your birthday.
Wow.
And I've always mixed it up, Like I say, I always make sure that everybody gets all their big Monkee hits, because I know that they're there to hear that. And then I'll mix it up with other stuff, If I do non-Monkee stuff, it'll usually have a story attached. Like I do Johnny Be Good by Chuck Berry, because it was my audition piece for the Monkees.
Was it really?
Yeah, that was the song that got me the gig. So when I tell the audience that, it kind of brings them along.
Well, People love those stories. I mean, myself included. I'm sure you do as well. I mean, we're all fans, whether we're on stage or not on stage. We're all fans of music and rock and roll in particular. And they love to hear those stories. And there's not many people that have been, had the opportunities that someone like yourself has had. I mean, to be at the recording sessions with the Beatles, your own recording sessions, and the craze that the Monkees, had during the '60s and beyond. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I just feel blessed. I do. I just feel so blessed to have been cast into that television show. And then everything that's come along with it, the ups and the downs and everything, but to be part of that cast and having all those incredible writers, not just the screenwriters,
right,
the TV show, but the songwriters. I mean, how can you go wrong with voice and heart? Carole King and Jerry Goffin and David Gates and Paul Williams and Harry Nilsson. And so when I go out and sing those songs, I mean, it's always a pleasure because, those people didn't write too many duff tunes.
No, they're pretty good. They're pretty good.
Yeah.
I was just with Stephen Bishop doing an interview with him a few weeks ago, and we were talking about some of the songwriters, Jimmy Webb and people like that. So, it's there's some pretty amazing songwriters out there.
Yeah.
You also ended up on a lunchbox and a thermos, which is something that'll never happen to most people, which has got to be kind of weird. Was that a strange thing for you, or?
No, not now.
But at the time, I mean, that's got to be pretty like.
Well, I'd actually had a taste of that world when I was a kid. Probably unbeknownst to many people. When I was 10 years old, I had a series on NBC, a primetime series called Circus Boy. And, you can look it up. It was
I will, yeah.
One of those, one of those adventure kids shows like Lassie or something of that nature. And it was very successful. Ran 3 years, and I went on TV shows, and I signed autographs, and I was in parades, and I had merchandise made with my image, which, of course, I never got a penny. But
right, yeah.
But I had lunch boxes and books and things and stuff at 10 years old. So when the Monkees came along, like I say, I had a little bit of a taste of what that was all about. And again, I just feel blessed to have been part of it,
Yeah.
I still am. Mike Nesmith and I are going out in April.
Right. And I was going to ask you about that. You guys were out already, were you not? And then you're going back out again?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you tell me about that? Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I had my doubts and my concerns. So did Mike, Nez. After Peter passed, we went out with Peter, and of course David, and all four of us, and three of us, in all different configurations. We talked about it, and it was like, what do we do? And fortunately, I was fortunate enough to be picked to sing most of the leads, not all of them, but the great majority of them. And so we had that, of course, going. And then Nez wrote some wonderful songs for the Monkees during the Monkee period, and also wrote some wonderful songs for other artists. For instance, he wrote Different Drum, gave it to Linda Ronstadt. And so we started doing those kind of things and celebrating, the two of us and the Monkees, and also Nez's, library of material that he wrote during the Monkees, for the Monkees. And after, he had a group called First National Band. And, Frank, at first he was a little hesitant to do those because it wasn't Monkee music. But we talked him into it. We said, people, they want to hear you. So we went out and tested it, tried it, and got a very good response, got very good reviews. That was the important thing. We got very, very good reviews because it was a very musical show. Big band, like 10 pieces. And got very good reviews. And I guess the buyers were happy because they bought it again in April and again in the fall.
Well, it's all about putting asses in the seats. We know that. whether it's a church, a concert, or a movie. If you guys are doing well, then the promoters are happy and the fans are coming out, of course. So you had touched on this a little bit, Micky, but I mean, is it odd for you to be on stage with Mike and without the other two? Is it an odd feeling? Did it feel kind of strange at first, or was it something you had to get used to, or were you comfortable with that right from the beginning?
Well, Davy's passing was a big shock. There was no warning for that one. And, however, Peter had let everybody know that he was having some health challenges and serious. And so that was not as big of a shock. Everybody sort of knew it was coming. Over the years, I toured with Davy, just Davy and I, and I toured with Peter, just Peter and I, and Peter Mike and I, and Davy Mike and I, and Davy Peter Mike and I. So, like I say, we talked about it and said, hey, let's give it a shot, and we did.
What is it in your mind? What is it about the Monkees music that's so special? And I was thinking before this call, what am I going to ask you that you haven't been asked a billion times? So I apologize if some of these questions that you've answered too many times in your life, but they're new to me, for you, of course. So I still love your music. I still love what you guys put out decades ago. I think it still sounds great. What does it do for you? I mean, what does it mean to you, the Monkees, and what do you attribute the longevity to?
Well, get asked that question a lot.
Yeah.
I think you'd probably be better to answer it than me, because I was in it. But the short answer is, a couple of things we've already discussed. The music and the songs written by those incredible writers. And then they were produced well and, sung well and performed well. That's got to be at the top of the list. And the television show obviously cannot be disregarded, but it also had a hell of a pedigree of people that were writing, producing, directing, and it came at it sort of came at the right time. It's like a perfect storm. One of the producers once when I asked that question, he said, we just caught lightning in a bottle. So you could ask that same question about, something like Happy Days. What do you attribute the longevity to Happy Days?
Right.
Or Star Trek? You can't really break it down. You can't reduce it in a scientific sense. You take it apart and you say, Happy Days was just because of, Henry Winkler, or Star Trek was just because of the special effects, or, you can't do that. It doesn't work. The whole becomes greater than the sum of its parts, and that's what happened. That's what happened with the Monkees.
Well, that's a good.
And other shows and movies. It just something clicks. You get get lightning in a bottle.
Now
the Monkee show. Go ahead.
No. You finish. It's more important you finish. Go ahead.
Well, like I said, it was the music, of course, the songs, and then the Monkee show, the writing and the show itself. If you remember, it wasn't topical and it wasn't satirical. So that's one of the ways that shows stand up over the years.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And, a lot of artists, I was going to ask you, and I've spoken to many, run from their past. They don't want to go back. That was the past. This is the present. And I think often that's a really, really big mistake. But you don't seem to do that. You seem to embrace the past, and you love it. You thrive on it.
Well, yeah, but having said that, you're absolutely right. But having said that, I also did not, after the Monkees, attempt to continue with a solo songwriting career. I became a director-producer, mostly in England, and for like 10, 15 years,
right,
at least, I did nothing but direct and produce and write television shows and movies. So I wasn't fighting my own history. I wasn't one of those people that wants to change the path, maybe reinvent themselves. And I can understand how that can be very frustrating. If you're famous for, they call it the Leonard Nimoy syndrome.
Right.
If you're famous for having pointed ears, he was one of the greatest, finest actors of our generation. But, after Star Trek, I'm sure he had his problems getting cast in other parts, that. So that happens. They call it typecasting. It also happens in music, you hit record or an album. And they want you to do the same thing again. And, if you're the kind of artist, if you're a musician, artist, singer, songwriter, and you want to move on, I can see how that can be very frustrating.
Oh, absolutely. I totally get that. Now, you guys, you never. Yeah. Yeah. Well, was it a nice escape for you to get away from the bedlam, the craziness of being in the Monkees for a while? Was that nice for you?
Oh, it was wonderful. Yeah. I lived a very peaceful country, rock and roll country, mansion life in England, had children, a family, and I became known as Michael Dolenz, the producer-director, rather than ex-Monkee Micky Dolenz,
Now, you married a Pennsylvania girl, too, didn't you? You're married to somebody from...
I did.
Yeah, because I grew up in Philadelphia. As I said, I'm in L.A. now. So yeah. So it's going to be a homecoming for you. Always a homecoming for you, I guess, a little bit.
Well, I'm there all the time.
Yeah.
Because two of my kids from prior marriage live in D.C.
Okay.
And now I got 3 grandkids, so now it's gives me more and more excuses to get back there.
Right. But it's a beautiful part of the country. It really is. Yeah, I love it there. But it was time for a change, so we all need that from time to time. You guys have a live album coming out on Rhino. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, it's the show that Mike and I are going to be doing.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
They recorded 4 or 5 concerts from the last tour. And Rhino, everybody thought it was good enough, I guess, that they want to put it out there, so that's what they're doing.
Right. When is that coming out, Micky? Do you know?
In time for the tour, I don't have the date.
Okay.
I know it's in time for the tour.
Okay, I can ask David. I had, I didn't expect, we scheduled this interview very, very last minute, so I normally do a lot of prep work, and I know, I have a basic knowledge of your career anyway, but he was kind enough to send me some information, but I'll get some more information from him so I can complete, whatever I need to do at my end. Now, you were also...
I don't know what the release date is.
Okay. That's fine. Yeah, well, I'll find that out. You were involved in Mr. Rogers tribute. Yeah, tell me about that, because I'm a big Mr. Rogers fan, and I thought his documentary was phenomenal. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet. They just asked me to sing one of the songs. Simple as that. And I looked at who else was, involved. I believe it's the second album that they've done already. And I had no idea he was such a prolific songwriter. He wrote a lot of stuff.
You seem to be very happy at this point. You sound very upbeat, and things are going well, and you're in a good place in your life. How do you look at where you are right now?
Well, yeah, I'm busy. I always like to be busy. When I'm not busy, I get a little bit nervous and a little bit down. But I am very busy. Almost too busy at times, and I'm also doing what I like, of course, that helps.
Of course, yeah.
And hoping to get back on Broadway. I love doing Broadway musicals, which I've done a few of. If you do any research, you'll see I've done a few musicals, and I'm doing musical theater. Because the Monkees, to me, was a little bit of musical theater on television. Like a little half-hour Marx Brothers musical.
Right, that's a good way to put it.
On TV.
Yeah, I didn't miss it. My buddies and I and my brothers, we watched it all the time. It was constantly on our television when I was growing up as a kid. So I think we even had your Monkees lunchbox. So it's like, I don't know. It seems like such a long time ago, and so much has changed. But great memories. You've got a museum in your house practically, too. Didn't I see a while back? I thought I saw you interviewed taking somebody through your house, but I could be wrong. It might have been somebody else. I thought I remember seeing a lot of rock and roll memorabilia in your home. Was that you or was that somebody else I'm thinking of?
Well, I can tell you what I have, and basically it's just my gold records. So I do have those hanging up.
Right.
And some photos,
right.
Celebs, but really nothing besides that. So
okay.
I don't know, maybe
okay. It could be, because I talked to a lot of people, and I wasn't sure. I thought I had seen something on you a while back. But one last question. When people come out to see you perform, what would you like them to experience during your performance, and what would you like them to go away with?
Well, I guess, kind of just feel good. The vast majority of my audience are original fans. And there's always at least 2 or 3 generations in the audience because of seeing the TV show and listening to the music. I'm very careful that I do these songs as they were recorded and as they were released so people can sing along. And I guess it's like having them revisit their childhood. In the case of little kids that come who are fans now, it's, seeing them done live. And I guess that's the short answer.
Well, Micky, this is great. I really appreciate your time. It's a pleasure speaking with you, and we'll cross paths at some point.
Thank you.
All right, take care, Micky. Nice speaking with you.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Micky was one of the most nostalgic interviews I've conducted. Our conversation transported me back to my youth, remembering the countless hours I spent sitting in front of the television watching the slapstick humor of the Monkees. Their songs remain forever etched in my mind as part of the soundtrack of my life. Thank you for taking a walk with me down memory lane. Until next time, peace, serenity, and blessings.